Okay, hi everybody. Today I want to look at we did depth of field before, so that's aperture. Essentially, that's aperture priority, right? We're favoring the amount of depth of field we have because we're picking our f-stop. So today, let's move on to the next topic, which is shutter speed. So now we'll be essentially working in what we would call shutter priority. So we're going to pick our shutter speed to do a desired effect. Okay? So for me, shutter speed is really fun because we get to look at what slice of time, right? What slice of time do you want to record? A brief instant, thousandth of a second, 2,000th of a second, or do you want to go, much longer, half a second, 1 second? Big difference here in how the image will look, of course, if there is anything moving. If it's just a static picture of a rock or a house with no wind blowing on the leaves or anything like that, then shutter speed is almost inconsequential, except that if you're hand holding, you really don't want to be, as we've discussed before, you really don't want to be below a 30th of a second hand holding the shutter or hand holding the camera. You really want to stay around 60. I've shot for quite a number of years at 30, but I can probably count on one hand, maybe two hands, a number of pictures that I've gotten that I've been very happy with at a 15th of a second. It's just really hard to hold the camera that steady at a 15th or an 1/8 of a second. You can get lucky and you can brace yourself a little bit, but it becomes very difficult to handhold the camera at that slow of a shutter speed. All right, so you get to choose what slice of time that you want to record. So, well, that can be a lot of fun when we start thinking about something that's moving, right? Speed is relative. Speed is relative to the object moving closer to you or further away from you or moving laterally across in front of you. Big difference. An object moving closer to you or further away from you, even if it's moving at the same speed, does not appear to be moving very quickly as something that's going across. Now I'm trying to move my hand about the same speed, right? But it doesn't feel as though it's moving quickly as I move it towards or away from the camera. But as I move it across the camera, it looks like it's going pretty fast. So you get the idea. Speed is relative to camera position and direction of movement of the object. Is it moving closer, further away, or laterally across, left to right or right to left, or top to bottom? Okay. So choosing the slice of time can be a lot of fun, and we'll show you a bunch of pictures in this this module, this section on shutter speed. But we really can look at kind of three different areas, right? So we look at camera, still, object, moving. Okay? So the camera is stationary and the object is moving and the camera is not. Okay? So that can be a lot of different things, right? And again, we'll show you some pictures, give you some ideas, do a bunch of cool stuff, okay? The next one, if you're with me, is the opposite of this, right? Camera, moving, object, still, okay? So we get the idea. Object is stationary, camera is moving. right? Or zooming, right? A lot of cool things you can do with an object that is not moving, and you control the movement with the camera, okay? We'll do some of these in the next video, okay? And number 3, you got it, camera moving. Object moving. Now, I'll do some of these, but you're going to have to do those on your own. So I want you to think about somebody riding their bicycle down the street. This is the bicycle. And you're following them with the camera as they're moving. So that's object moving, camera moving. This is what's called a pan shot, because you're panning the camera with the object as it moves. So you're following it, right? And that's where that servo or tracking focus will be a big help when we get into the autofocus menus and how we set up our camera to do that panning shot. Panning shots are really cool with somebody running or something moving or a car going down the street. Typically that's what we'll do. We'll go out to a street and practice doing our panning shots in class. It's a lot of fun. Okay? So movement with the idea of using a shutter speed and either freezing something or letting it blur with a longer shutter speed. So you want to freeze the action, 500, 1,000, 2,000. You're going to be up here. 250 if it's not moving very fast, and if you want to extend, excuse me, or blur the object, you're looking at, quarter, half, 1 second, 2 second. We'll do some stuff 4 and 8 seconds. A lot of fun. Especially we can take objects that are lit up or are glowing and move them around, right? Hopefully these batteries are still good. They are. So you can see that if we were to be moving this, and we get a little bit of blur with the video camera here, right? That if we move this very quickly and had the shutter open, we would get nothing but a streak of lights. And we could rotate it, or we could move it in, or move it out, or twist it. So we'll do some of those kinds of things as well with longer shutter speeds. And you'll need, like a second or maybe 2 seconds in order to catch that movement. And of course, anybody knows with any type of action photography, typically you want to freeze the motion. So you're going to be up, 1,000th of a second to catch that, person throwing or swinging or kicking or riding their bicycle or skateboard up in the air, right? Doing something like that, that you want that to be frozen. So use a very fast shutter speed. Now, because you're using a very fast shutter speed, you're not letting much light in the camera, right? So you have to compensate by that by either opening up your aperture as big as you can to let light in, or you have to boost your ISO and get that up to, 800, 1600, 3200. That's that whole idea of equivalent exposure now, because now you can boost your ISO and allow you to still use 500, 1,000, 2,000th of a second shutter speed. Now that can be very difficult with indoor activities because there isn't typically a lot of light indoors. Your eyes are amazing that you can see that well, but the camera not so much. So you will be at these higher ISOs. I shot high school football for a while, a long time ago, and I'm at 3200 ISO. 320th to 500th of a second at f4. It's just barely enough light to be able to have those camera settings and still freeze the action. You can't have blurry pictures. And the only way you do that is by freezing the action. 250th of a second in high school football, it's just not fast enough. Now, if nobody's moving, it's fine. But as soon as people start running, and especially you got people coming together, that's a high speed coming together. It's a lot of, it's very dynamic. You have to have a fast shutter speed to freeze that motion. So it can be very difficult. So a little bit about shutter speed. I think this is one of the most fun things to play with. I play with this all the time. I'll show you a bunch of pictures that I've shot of just walking down a street and moving the camera around with various lighting displays during Christmas time. It was down in Florida at a walking mall kind of area, and all the shops had lights out in front. So I was able to take the camera and do some fun camera moves and create some interesting abstract light painting. It's kind of what it is. So I think it's one of the most fun things you can do is play around with shutter speed. So a little bit about shutter speed. What slice of time do you want to record? Kind of the three aspects of motion: camera still, object moving; camera moving, object still; camera moving, object moving. Kind of the three aspects of motion. Okay, cool. Talk to you on the next video. Bye.